Nice, right? Yeah. Nice to see all the familiar faces.
Helena, hello.
Hey, Maureen,
Hi. Oh my
Julie, I signed up just
gosh.
to come in and say hello.
Oh wow, I know. I saw it. I was like, oh, I'm seeing familiar faces. I'm so excited.
Yes, I signed to come and say hello to both of you
Oh, this is like big reunion.
Mhm.
Hello.
in a safe manner, because then not go too close, you guys. You got a lot of clients that you are responsible for.
Oh, no lah. Yeah,
Yeah, Julie, our long overdue catch up, You
yeah, yeah,
postpone
yeah.
and postpone.
Okay, we do it soon. I'm on leave the last week.
Hey, Jenny, do you
Okay.
have light or not? Put some light on your face.
Like that.
Otherwise, you are
Your
back,
handsome face, your handsome face.
better, so much
Yeah,
better.
So
Suddenly,
round, nothing can save it. Yeah.
You have one of those halo lights.
Don't have lah. I'm trying to be a YouTuber, but then I haven't had time to sit down and do
YouTuber have no lights.
Yeah.
we are waiting for your recommendation on what light to buy, okay? So
Exactly.
please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. New update on potions.
How to Zoom successfully. Yeah. All your kit, your essential Zoom kit. Yeah. Hey, Maureen, you should organize then for Zoom.
Actually, you know what? We were just talking about it. Yeah, sure. You know what? If, as part of the press club, happy
Yes.
to make the arrangements.
Just let us
I'll
know.
ask. I
Yep.
don't know if you all know Haley. Haley, yeah,
No,
but Ken, happy to.
Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah.
Haley, previously from Sun. Is that the Haley? Haley.
Wait, she's been various places. So yeah.
Maybe the Haley from Sun Microsystems.
Yes, Kelly with Kelly.
Yeah, Aaron will know lah. Aaron, is Haley from?
Yeah, she's not at Concur, I think.
Yes, that's right. No, she's now at Zoom.
Oh, she's not at Zoom.
Yes.
Leonard is at Zoom, Leonard.
Exactly.
Leonard times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Leonard's doing public policy at Zoom.
So here, we ask Zoom to sponsor lah. Hey, Junie, we get the what enterprise edition what?
Yeah.
Premium.
And tricks and how to hack your next Zoom webinar. Okay, Jenny, your call. It's 5:51. So your call when you want to start. I'm going to start screen sharing and I'm going to mute cam so that I don't get too distracted saying hello to everybody. Today I'm tech support.
Guys, we wait a few more minutes. I think it's only about how many?
You want to welcome people. Yeah.
People, yeah.
Sorry, I think like a TV producer. So, very important. The whole user experience is. I wanted music, but today there's no time to do music because everyone else just say hello to each other. So
oh, mine. We're too busy gossiping. It's okay.
Yes. Y'all miss. So you come early. It pays out to come early.
Exactly. Like I said, I'm seeing so many familiar names pop up.
Okay, I'm going to share screen and so that people know they're in the right place. Oops, I haven't even.
You know, this Singapore Press Club is driven by comms people.
What happened to the media people? Where are they?
Junaida, Helena, Aaron.
He probably spoke with half of us today.
Am I the only press in the Singapore Press Club?
Yeah, you're the only media.
Hey, Jenny, you're seeing my full screen, right?
Sorry?
Are you seeing my full screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so anytime you want to start, it's already 5:32. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah, I think let's get started. Because I think the introduction will take another few minutes, right? Yeah. So first and foremost, thank you everyone for joining us. This is kind of a new thing that as the press club has been doing. This is the second time we're doing this. So today, this is the second session, and we're going to look at a topic that is quite old, right? Page views versus pay for views. And with me today, I have Maureen Tseng, who is the general manager at Hoffman, and of course Aaron, who is the executive editor at TechTarget. Next slide, Junie. Yeah, so Singapore Press Club, we were founded in 1971. I have only joined them this year as a management committee member, largely because of the, I don't know, I always feel that the media and PR folks, we're not always talking as much as we would like to. Like today, I see mostly it's us PR folks here, not many journalists. I joined really to hope to kind of bridge the two industries together, right? Having been on both sides of the coin. And personally, for me, I feel that our old way of doing media relations that I learned when I was a journalist is something that I still practice, right? And media relations must have activities and relations, of course. So that's why I joined. So the press club itself, this is the 50th year. My history of press club is botchy at best, but basically this being the 50th anniversary, there is a shameless plug here. If you apparently if you pay for 2 years membership, you get the third year free. Okay, and if you're keen to join, if you're not already members, please let me know. I will connect you to the people that understands membership better than I do. Okay, next slide. Okay, so generations really is actually Junie and my initiative, even though she's helping me with tech support today. The idea was really we wanted to have a regular bi-monthly session about the media issues of the day. So the first one we had was in October, and then that was the inaugural session. We talked about the changing role of the news editor, especially in the age of pandemic and in the digital space. How has running the newsroom changed for the news editors, right? And then we had Julie, who was from Insider, Zakir, he's like the Singapore editor now at ST, and of course Shu Yang, who is from Cao Bao. So next slide. So today is our second session. Like I said, it's bi-monthly. And today we're going to look at page view versus pay for views. Okay, next slide. So a quick one about myself, I guess. For those, I think most of you know me. I see so many familiar faces. Thank you for joining. Myself, I started my life as a lawyer in the year 1993. Okay, and then I was a lecturer for a while, and I joined Straits Times in the year 2000. So largely from 2000 to 2015, I was a tech journalist. When I left, of course, I was in the Straits Times and I was a tech editor. Then I left in 2005 on the grand adventure of starting my own PR agency. Still not sure why I did it, but I did it anyway. And here I am lah. So we are still a boutique firm, still practicing kind of the old ways of doing PR. Okay, even though we do a bit of integrated stuff and social lah, but largely we are still very focused on creating good stories, sticky stories, right? That's what it's called, glue. So with me today is Aaron. Aaron, of course, many of you know him. He's the executive editor at TechTarget. I will let Aaron speak for himself and tell us a bit more about his experience and what he does. Aaron?
Thanks, Julie. Thanks for having me here today. Good afternoon, everyone. As Julie mentioned, I'm executive editor at TechTarget. So for those of you who are not familiar with TechTarget, we are a US-based B2B technology publisher, and we run over 140 websites across key regions like North America, Asia Pacific, as well as India. Each of the websites really focus on a very specific enterprise technology topic. So you have things like cloud computing, data center, cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. Personally, I look after the Asia Pacific coverage for a UK-based publication which TechTarget acquired many years ago called computerweekly.com. So I have a network of freelancers to support the work that we are doing across the region. The key markets that we talk about and that we cover are primarily Singapore, ASEAN, Australia, New Zealand, as well as India at the same time as well. So besides being in journalism, my journalism career started at SPH back in the early 2000s. I started working with Julie sometime in the mid 2000s as well. I also spent some time in the public sector, primarily at the National Library Board, where I was kind of like, dabbled in a wide range of functions, from implementing innovative projects, to being a librarian and serving customers on the front line as well. So my experience is pretty varied. And that's pretty much what I will share. I can dive a little bit deeper into what we do and the business model later on in the conversation as well.
Okay, so fun fact for those who don't know, Aaron actually also did PR for a while. I think when he was at National Library Board, although he's not the PR guy, he was actually helping them to do PR because he was pitching stories to me successfully. And then he was at IMDA for a while and he used to tell his boss, please don't let him go. He's the best guy you have. But he went anyway, like he left after that. So I think, fun fact, Aaron, not many people know this, but you did have some time doing PR and understand our pains as well. So maybe let's move on to Maureen. Yeah, so Maureen also old friend, very experienced, right? She's the general manager of Hoffman agency. Maureen, tell the audience a bit more about yourself and your experience.
Sure. Okay, so my background is, I think most of you guys are all PR people. Chances are we've probably crossed paths, but we're all friends in the industry. But my background is I started in-house. So I was with a French company called Thomson Consumer Electronics. Doesn't even exist anymore. In fact, the building, the SPH building, right, that you'll see on Toa Payoh North, that was actually the building we launched for Thomson. And before that, that was Thomson's audio factory, which was one of the oldest factories in Singapore. Fun fact. So I moved on to Sembawang Corp, and I was part of Sembawang Media, where we launched, Pacific Internet back then. So it just shows how long ago I've been in the PR industry. After that, I thought, okay, you do the thing, you go in-house, then after that, you go to agency, right? Get a few other tips and then go back to the corporate world. I never left the agency. I think one of the things that excites me is being able to work with so many different clients. And the Hoffman agency is actually a Silicon Valley company. And the DNA is that we run multi-market programs around Asia Pacific and globally. So the ability to, I think, work with clients across different geographies, understanding the different nuances, and working with global brands like Google. We worked with them from the time when it was just a scout, looking out to set up shop in the region, through to Twitter and to Zoom, which is some of our clients now. And lately, we've also started working with Tencent. So this is very, very exciting stuff, seeing some of these latest technologies and what's happening. So happy to be here to meet all of you and share views on this very interesting topic.
Hey, thanks, Maureen. Yeah, I think we're going to just dive in now into the main event, right? I think the first thing I would like to discuss with Aaron and Maureen, right, is actually just to define the topic of the day, right? To me, I crafted it as page views versus pay for views. It's kind of a modern take on an age-old topic, right? And really, what is the topic? The topic is the demarcation between earned and paid media, right? I mean, when I joined the Straits Times, I can still remember how actually we write quite independently and quite arrogantly in those days, right? I remember attacking a lot of people, and then the sales guys will come and tell me like, hey, Jin Lee, you wrote the article about Best Denki, now you're going to pull the ads. Those were how it used to be, where the demarcation were very, very clear, right? So this is really an age-old topic, and that's why I wanted you guys to come and talk about this, right? So in essence, really, right, it is the whole battle between earned media or paid media, right? And maybe let me throw the question to both of you. I mean, feel free, right? I mean, it's only three of us. How would you define what is earned media and paid media, and why is it important to maintain this distinction? I think that's the first question. Yeah.
Aaron, you want to start from the media standpoint?
Yeah, I think like what Jin Lee mentioned, earned media, it obviously is independent reporting. All your sources are sourced independently from the stories. There shouldn't be any kind of like influence from advertisers. To us at TechTarget, right, we may be one of the rare ones in the industry, I'm not sure, but we really stand by our editorial independence. There's a very clear line between what we do in the editorial and the commercial aspects of the business. I think when I was reading the synopsis for this session, right, I mean, you guys talked about the blurring lines between earned media and paid media. I think to us at TechTarget, there isn't a blurred line. The lines are very clear. Obviously, there's a room for both, right? There's a room for paid media as well. And we're just going to make it clear to our readers, whether something that they're reading is paid or whether it's independently sourced. I think as long as you make that distinction very clear, then we are pretty much happy with the way things are. I think at the crux of the issue, the reason for this blurring lines, I feel, has really got to do with the business model of the organization, right? Whether the media organization really supports independent reporting and how that translates into revenue for the company. So for us at TechTarget, we really pride ourselves in making sure that our content is independently sourced, because for us, the business model is not so much about selling advertisements. So we don't face any pressure from people attempting to pull out their advertisements. So the business model is really about how we can basically so in essence, what we are as a company is we provide data, about our readers to our clients. Our clients are basically the marketers, as well as some of the PR folks here, where they can use this data about our readers to kind of like paint a better picture of who the target audience are, and whether they can pass this information to the sales teams as sales leads, right? So the data itself is critical to us, right? And our readers opt into our platform to receive information in exchange for the data that they provide to us about their profiles, what are the job descriptions, what are the functions that they work on. And this data is not just about who they are. The data is also about the kinds of activities that they do on our websites. So like I mentioned, we operate over 140 websites across the world. And each of these websites are very targeted and limited and specific to a topic, like say cloud computing, for instance, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, right? So we are based on the activity of the reader on this particular, say, cloud computing site, right? We're able to tell whether they are in the market for a specific cloud computing solution, just a very simple example, and where they are in the buying process, whether they're in the early stages, early consideration stages, or whether they are actively researching on a particular vendor that they're interested in procuring a service from. So we're able to provide these sorts of nitty-gritty insights to our clients in that sense. So, and because the quality of the data really matters to our clients, you've got to make sure that we got to keep the data coming. We got to check. We got to make sure that the readers themselves do not drop out, of our database, because the reason that once they sense that something is kind of like fishy or sounds like it's paid for advertisement, you only say good things about a specific vendor, you don't really criticize their offerings, then they would definitely unsubscribe from the database, and it's quite easy to do that these days. And to us, we don't really want that to happen. So that's where having a business model that supports independent journalism works to our benefit in that sense. I mean, that's pretty much in a nutshell what I would like to say about this.
So it looks like for everyone, for you, you're in a good position, right? You don't have to worry about this dichotomy, because the business model itself necessitates you to be focusing on independent and responsible, credible journalism, right? Although I think that would be the exception to many of the other trade publications, especially today, right? Maureen,
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who's done PR for so long, right? Where do you see this changing, right? The distinction between earned media and paid media, and how would you actually define it? What is earned and what is paid?
Yeah. I mean, for us with earned media, that is what we started cutting out our teeth. And if you look at most public relations agencies, and even from the corporate comms function, right, it's all about media relations, getting that story out there. It's about protecting the brand reputation through, great articles that would be communicating the key messages, right, that your client wants out there. The only fundamental issue is that we are facing a dearth of media outlets now, where we are having a lot more conversations with many media that talk also about a paid component, right? There are also things like events that we have to consider with the various publications that we're working with. So, let me get this straight. I mean, our clients come to us, and at the end of the day, the holy grail will be, say, that Raffles conversation. Now it doesn't even, from what I understand, it's being pulled. Raffles conversation in BT, or that CNBC broadcast interview for our clients, right? That to them is really a job well done. But how many can we do, of these sorts of opportunities? Like with the CNBC, you're lucky if you go on maybe once every 6 months. Our clients are really fighting a big battle, because there's so many Asia Pacific companies, right, that are headquartered here, international organizations that are pitching after the same media. And if it's a media pool that's shrinking, how do we then, continue to go with that fantastic media story, the one where, you literally pray for? Because from our standpoint, we're getting a lot more requests, to look at other options to get the news out there. And we also, as an agency, have to evolve with the times, literally to see if we can follow the whole kind of customer funnel. So it's not just media relations, as a be all and end all, but it's just part of a larger omni-channel mix that we have to work with to get the messages out there.
Okay, sorry, I forgot to tell the audience, if you do have burning questions or you just want to make fun of me or Aaron or Maureen, there is a Q&A at the end of this. So hold your horses, okay, if you have the questions. Yeah. So Maureen, let me follow up on that, right? I mean, I also have the same experience, right? It's getting harder and harder to get regular articles for clients with mainstream media, right? Especially COVID, right? I mean, half the pages is filled with COVID stories. Okay, I mean, we don't always have COVID stories to tell, right? Yeah. So why then do companies still put money, I think a reasonable amount of money into comms, right? Into PR. Why don't they just move out of that and just, I don't know, 90% just do paid media?
There's still that value, I feel, in terms of a story coming out in, let's say in the local context in the Straits Times, or in the international context coming out on a Bloomberg or Reuters. I mean, we've literally seen the power of what a story like that can do to companies. There are certain clients where when a story breaks on Reuters and it's not a good story, literally globally you have to go and clean up that mess that has been created, and you have customers then coming and questioning. So there is a real power to that. Whereas if you put out a big advertising campaign, I think it's a very different sensitivity. And I think our clients all are smart enough to know that when you put out a paid piece of coverage, it's not going to get the same kind of call to action. It is quite different.
Thanks. Actually, this reminds me of, on the power earned media. Sorry, I threw my own anecdotes lah. Back when I was in Digital Life, I remember we wanted to test which AA battery had the longest life. I think Evan may have left by then or haven't joined. So I remember a colleague, Chong Yao, he actually went to buy Panasonic Evolta Duracell Energizer. He literally put the battery in the camera and he snapped photos until his finger hurt, and he counted the cost per snap. And I remember we published the results, and somebody was the winner and somebody was the loser. Okay, I can't remember who was the loser, but the loser was so angry because NTUC pulled their product off the shelves the next day. So when you buy battery, right? That when you exit the cashier, there's always one particular brand there in those days, right? And that's actually prime position. So one of them actually lost their space when NTUC saw the article and threatened to pull off the $1 million advertising budget from SPH. I mean, those were the good old days, lah, right? I mean, but it does show you that when it's credible journalism, I think it still has a big impact, right? Maureen and Aaron pointed out.
Yeah. But I think the larger question now is, I think this group here, we are a slightly older audience, right? And we do see I think the impact and the importance of earned media, right? That nice story that's coming out. But then we get into that whole conversation about social media and what the Gen M and Gen Z people are consuming nowadays, right? So, Jindy and Aaron, I was just sharing as part of the prep coming up to this session, I went out and did a straw poll, with largely my team, but also their friends and family. And my team is easily like they are years younger than I am. They are strictly in the Gen M and Gen Z category. And it's a very, very different way in which they're consuming news. And I think that would have impact, moving forward also.
Okay, since you're at the point, Maureen, why not let me share that, and you can bring the audience through the poll that you did.
Yeah.
Oh
sure.
dear, I didn't download the PowerPoint. Okay, I'll just use the PDF. Sorry guys, it's not the best. But can everyone see it? Let me try to move this.
Yeah. Okay. So this is how I did it. We literally just went and did a Google poll, right? I had my intern, my Gen Z intern run this. So we literally shared it out with friends who are in the Gen M, Gen Z category. And so here, the results are quite telling. This is how they're getting their news. It is not by them going directly to the app and clicking on, say, the BBC app or whatever, but they are getting all their news through their social feeds. So this would be Instagram, stories, mothership coming up. It would be on Telegram chat groups, right? It would be on Facebook feeds or whatever. This is how they're consuming their news. Okay. So if we move ahead, where are they spending most of their time? So I did ask, so okay, if you're not really clicking on the, say, a BBC or a Straits Times app or whatever, right? I mean, how are you getting your news? So they're saying web browser. Why? Because it takes up less bandwidth. Bandwidth is everything to them nowadays. So technological considerations are also coming to play in terms of how people are consuming their news. And when we talk about the larger issue with the, Facebook and the big echo chamber that's coming up with the algorithms, then this becomes a larger conversation in terms of what is, earned and non-biased kind of journalism, and what are people actually consuming. Because you will see that a lot of these newer publications, a lot of the material is paid content. Okay, so if we move forward, if they use their apps, where would they go to? So this was quite funny, I was discussing with my intern. I said, hey, BBC, that's not bad. And she said, no lah, they just want to appear intelligent. That's why they put that. But I don't know. These are the usual suspects. Okay, so you have CNA. I think they have done a pretty good job. But where are they getting the news from? Look on the left. This is their primary source. And then the apps then taking a very distant second. Okay. And then do you pay for news? So this is, again, the big quandary. We are here talking about why, right, earned media, the difference between church and state, the demarcation, why news is so important. But look, these people don't want to pay for the news. So what happens to the poor media houses and media outlets? How are we going to be fed? And, how are we going to continue as PR practitioners to ensure we don't have another media outlet closing on us? So that is another thing to really think about as well. And then we move ahead. Do you know the difference between paid and earned media? Demarcations also, I would have expected it to be a lot larger in terms of like earned, knowing the difference. But this is a new generation that's coming to the point where they don't really care that much anymore. Yeah. Okay, moving on. So, in your opinion, is paid media less credible? Yeah. So, I mean, they're not stupid. They do know, right? So there is still a very valid place for earned media here. But if we go to the last slide, literally, so how often do you actually notice something is paid media? This is an interesting graph. It's showing that yeah, maybe, and one of the things that came out in my discussions with the team also is, paid advertising is a little insidious also. You would have it maybe in a small kind of like caption somewhere, sponsored by whoever. So this, I think, is useful information for discussion in terms of like how news is evolving and how people are consuming news, because that would also, I think, impact how journalism is viewed moving forward. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing because my messages kept popping up. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks, Maureen, for making an effort. Actually, for our own practice, we also, believe it or not, we start doing paid media as well. Even though my background is in independent, credible journalism. Okay, let's go to the next topic, right? Is this demarcation blurring in recent times, right? If so, and why is this happening? We know that there's always been earned media and paid media, and as I said earlier, back when I was a young reporter, the demarcation is very clear, right? I remember the sales guys literally had to be very polite to us, to tell us that, hey, you pissed off that advertiser, but they never overstepped the boundaries, right? I think over time, I also feel salespeople
have more say, right? Because of this blurring of lines, right? So definitely, I think it's blurring without a doubt. But why is this happening?
I think to me, I feel that the problem is more acute in publishers that perhaps do not have a very short-term view of running the business, right? Because obviously they face financial pressure, to bring in the money as soon as they, within a quarter and so. And building a strong independent media outfit takes a lot of hard work and time and a lot of overheads and resources. It's not just about, hiring the writers, which are getting more and more expensive, all the editorial production costs that goes into creating the content, and the news and the fact-finding costs that's involved and all that. So it takes a lot of hard work and a long time as well in order to see the benefits, because it takes a long time to build an audience who remain loyal to your readership, and it's so easy to lose them overnight. So in the short term, what do they do, right? Obviously they still have P&L numbers and targets to meet, right? So you have different business models. You have, like, in the enterprise tech space, we've got one group of publishers that go with the events model, where they just run events, several events every quarter, and basically the content that you create is just to kind of like generate publicity and about the event itself, to support the events business essentially. So I mean, that's our opinion to again to the business model of the media organization, and whether they have a short-term or long-term view of things. If you have a short-term view of things, then it's easy to just blur the lines and take the money essentially.
Green,
Yeah, I mean, right, from our standpoint, as PR people working on behalf of clients, our job is to try and build a profile for them, right? To make sure that we're getting them out there. So we would literally have to work with all the various media outlets, no matter independent of business model. We can't afford to choose. The pool is so small now. So if it is something where it's a hybrid, where we would have to, suggest that our clients get involved in events, I mean, so be it. If it is doing some paid outreach, like we have been doing quite a lot of paid activations with CNA, for example, so be it. We do what we have to do. And then we supplement it then with things like surveys. Okay, so Aaron, to your point, it's not cybersecurity survey, but maybe surveys on something that is more relevant, and timely, right? That impacts the man on the street in Singapore. We would do that as well. So really, it's about supplementing, I think, all efforts. Not just earned media. It's just one portion now. It really is a full integrated approach that we're approaching with all our clients today.
Do you think perhaps? Okay, but you do feel that there is more people who are willing to pay for paid media, and audiences are now more accepting, right, of paid media. Do you think that this situation could be because of the shift, right, from what I think we call context advertising to audience advertising, right? In the glory days of digital life, the idea was that we would cover everything about all the news, right? And then when advertisers advertise in digital life, they kind of know they are roughly reaching out to men interested in geeky stuff, right? Certain age group, and everyone had a demographic of what the audience is. I call that context advertising. But with the arrival of Google and Facebook and all this digital marketing, right? Now they can do very specific retargeting, digital marketing, audience advertising, and is that the reason why the media kind of lost a bit of its shine, right? In the old days, to reach out to the consumer, you have to engage the media, and that's why our PR industry grew from that, right? We do media relations, maximize the chance of a good story, and then it was just the audience, right? I feel that it was this change that happened, I think, over a decade ago by now, right? That really has changed the industry, and why now you just can't do it the old way, lah. What do you all think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think, Aaron, we talked about this before. There is still a space for very, very strong, very niche, very good content that would spark, people thinking. And I think there'll always be an audience who can get that kind of traction. But at the same time, they need to be paying their journalists. So how do we address that, in terms of the models? So from that standpoint, I think, there needs to be some thought around that. With regards to social platforms, I mean, look, honestly, if social networks are really driving a lot of the news and what people want to be seeing, ultimately, I think it's going to be a business decision on the part of the publisher. I am going to be putting more resources at the places that people are clicking more. Because, after all these paid advertising relationships, right? Literally, we'll be sitting down with our clients and going through the analytics, what demographic clicked on what and why, and therefore, maybe we need to be retargeting our messages so that we can hit this particular audience. So that has already starting. So which leads me to kind of wonder, so what's the way forward for our wonderful media people? Because I still love a great story, right? There's nothing like the Pulitzer Prize winning articles that would spark thought or really, help shape opinion in future. But where is there a space for those to be able to thrive and continue and, be able to make the dollars to survive? That leaves me a little bit worried.
Maureen, let me ask you this question, because I know you do a lot of enterprise tech clients, right?
Yeah.
When the new client comes to you, of course, obviously, there must first be the idea of doing earned media, right?
Yes.
Right. No client comes to you and say, Maureen,
Yes.
I want a paid media plan. No one does
Yeah.
that, right? But how willing are they when they talk to you, right? And you come up with your strategies to embrace the fact that, look, it can't be a pure earned media play. And therefore, in the budgeting, when you're hiring Hoffman to do this for you, at the beginning of the retainer contract, you already said, look, you got to put X dollars for paid media. Is that how it's done? I mean, how do you approach that?
We're doing that increasingly. Fortunately or unfortunately, that's why we actually launched our whole integrated marketing communications, division just earlier this year. And we're pushing out a whole lot of different products. I mean, for us as an agency, right? How I'm training our PR consultants is that they have to be multi-hyphenate. They must be able to be conversant in doing integrated marketing comms along with their traditional media relations as bread and butter, because you have to look across the entire mix. And now things like LinkedIn, right, profiling, building personas online in the LinkedIn community to be able to get that kind of amplification, because it's where the audiences are. So it's us helping develop that kind of content. So it is always an integrated campaign that we go in, unless the brief is, look, I only want media. I don't want any of those other things because I have a big marketing team that takes care of that. Then it's a different story.
Aaron, what are your thoughts?
I think back to Maureen's point about the need for independent media, right? I think for us in our case, it's not just about providing a piece of news or updating our readers about what's happening in the market. It's actually providing information that can help them in their careers, right? And when we're talking about enterprise technology, it's not just about knowing what the latest password is. So what we try to do is we go deep into the technology. We talk about AI implementations, but there are various shades of gray when it comes to AI implementation, for instance. So we really help our readers to unpack that information rather than just blasting them with messages about what's happening in the market, what this vendor is doing, what vendor is doing. They want to know from you. So what does it mean for me? How do I make sense of what's going on in the marketplace? And especially when there's so much noise going on in the market, I think there's more than ever a need for independent media to come and address those needs. I mean, if let's say the publishers are basically just regurgitating what their paid advertisers or the sponsors are telling them to write about, the readers can easily go to these websites, the vendors' websites, to look up the information themselves, right? Why would they want to go to your website? What is your value to them, and why should they continue to stay in your database and subscribe, to your newsletters for that matter?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I think we are running out of time soon, but Aaron, let me ask you this question. I know we spoke about this before, right? We talk about journalism. How easy or how difficult is it to actually find talent, especially with enterprise tech, which I profess very little knowledge about lah.
I mean, if you know anyone, please send them my way. I mean, it's incredibly tough, and I would say that this problem is not just acute to Singapore, but even in the other markets that I cover as well. I mean, I go on some of these overseas trips to the US. We attend many of these major tech conferences, and for the past 5 years, I've been seeing the same faces essentially. So there have not been any kind of like young or fresh blood coming to the market. Obviously, in enterprise tech, the barriers to entry is high because it's not something that you can just kind of like, grapple overnight. You probably need at least a year or two, to immerse yourself in the market in order to understand and report it for a start, at least, in a way that's thoughtful and intelligent, rather than just blasting, what the press release is saying, basically. So it's definitely a challenge, and I don't know how we're going to solve this problem. I mean, short of going to journalism school, and I also tried going to my professors and trying to ask my ex-professors and NTU, which I graduated from, to ask them if we could arrange any internship programs and all that. But we don't have any respondents from the school because they feel that it's too techy or it's too difficult. I don't understand. They rather, I don't know, write for a tabloid or write on their own blogs. For that matter. So I seriously, I'm quite concerned about what's going to happen when all of us in this virtual room retire, right? And we're not going to be here forever, and especially in enterprise tech. I'm sure Maureen knows, it's always the same old faces, right? I mean, from back in the good old days,
Getting smaller, the pool is shrinking.
Yeah,
it's very depressing.
Yeah. Plan for retirement soon.
Yeah, and without that, how are we going to school the next generation of journalists and editors on what independent journalism really looks like?
Yeah, I mean to be honest, right? It's not only enterprise tech, right? I mean, you look at, and my own concern, having been the media guy, I mean, I see myself as journalist first, okay, and the PR guy second, right? And I have real concerns. I mean, at the rate things are going, journalism itself, I feel, is a risk, right? It's not only enterprise tech journalists. I mean, how many people are going to tell their kids, hey, you know what, go and be a journalist, right? Already in 10, 20 years ago, it was really a challenge, right? Because everybody wants to be doctors and lawyers, and now, when the business itself is not as good as before, it's even harder, right? And our industries and our fates really are tied together, because Aaron, if you can't find journalists and then you retire, who do you want to pitch to? We can't pitch to each other. I mean, Maureen starts her own website.
No, we all had to start, we band together,
right?
and create one publication. Honestly, I've thought about this for a long time. This is the sad state, that we are in.
Yeah. Okay, look, we still about 15 minutes, and I really want to throw open to the floor.
There's a question.
Is there how do we do this? So you can either raise your hand and okay, we don't control the mics, right? Junie, they can just unmute themselves and ask, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you can unmute yourself.
So I think there is there is a question from, let me see, from
Naveen.
Naveen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
On PR Plus.
Yeah, so,
about helping bridge the PR journalism gap.
Okay, you want to answer that?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, what we have been seeing across the board is I think a dearth in building the pitch that would really resonate and work with journalists, that understanding of what journalists really require, and having the team develop a pitch or a story that would resonate and also help, the clients kind of put their news story forward. So this team that we put together is actually a regional team. So it would be like, the journalists, I mean, relationships that our Hong Kong team has, for example, on the ground, with say Hong Kong Economic Times, or our Taiwan team has on the ground. It's us amalgamating that together to be able to offer that, to our multi-market clients, so that when they have a story that goes out, we actually have a team with all the specific relationships, and we can go out en masse, to reach out to the various top tier media in the region to build out that story. You're mute, Cindy.
Sorry, I think because I'm not the host, right? That
Oh, cannot see.
yeah. So is it Junie or is Janet? You all
Yeah,
can help just say who are the ones that raised their hands.
Pallavi.
Oh,
Pallavi earlier raised hand, but I think she's
okay. Pallavi, would you like to just unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yeah, hi. So I just wanted to share, when we talk about independent media and as well as, pay-per-view versus, so I'm currently running, publishing, well, we're a digital media outlet. It's called Altcoin Buzz, and we're focused on cryptocurrency news and, happenings and all of that. Um, while the audience does want quality content, it always comes down to, as somebody was mentioning, opinionated pieces versus like actionable content and things like that. And the challenge is like, where do you draw the line between getting that pay-per-view so that you can hit those targets versus providing quality content year on year. And also the challenge for us has been to find writers who can provide for that niche, especially in Singapore, the local talent. So moving to that pay-per-view model is something we are keen on, but where we struggle is we don't know if we can keep up because we don't have that, content creators, as many content creators as much as we see that there is need for this kind of content.
So your first challenge is that you can't find good crypto journalists, right?
Yeah. Who
Yeah,
are
that's
willing
it.
to write based on the content. And then the second question always comes is, sponsored content versus user paying for content, for quality content, rather than us as a company relying on, because at the end of the day, you still need to generate revenue from somewhere to run an operation. And that's where I think maybe the small or the big companies, they're all struggling in that area.
Yeah, I guess this is normal, right? I mean, for most non-mainstream media, even for trade publications, most of the income comes from events, advertorials,
Yeah.
and you need to have revenue to run the business. That's why, as Aaron was saying, in his case, TechTarget is a bit unique because they actually need to maintain independent journalism to actually make money.
Yeah.
And it's a privilege, lah, right? That most other publications don't have. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe I would just say that we were lucky because we started early. We've had this business model since the start of the company was started more than 20 years ago. And because it started in the US, they have a bigger talent pool of people who are really versed in like really going deep into the technology. The other way you could kind of like overcome the talent issue, which is really the crux of the problem, right? Because if you don't have the talent, you can't write quality content, and then you have this dichotomy of you need to take advertisement to kind of like sustain a business. One way would be to look at network of experts. They may not be the best writers, but they are really deep in the right. They dabble in blockchain.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's one way of looking at it. If because you can always clean up their writing, or if they can't write, or
Yeah.
that's something that can be fixed. But it is the knowledge that you need, and I think that's really critical for you to generate good content.
Yeah, we are getting outside of Singapore writers, but you know how it is. You need the local to maintain a company in Singapore. You still need to hire Yeah. So yeah, it's I guess we also are looking
Don't
at
try to hire.
educating.
Don't try to hire foreigners now. You might as well kill
Painful.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm trying to find more
Painful.
and more and educate people within the So
Yeah.
that's where we are. Yeah.
I don't
Okay,
envy
thank
you.
you.
Crypto is hard. I mean, like we
But
were
it's been
working.
great. The last 2 years have been excellent for us because it's been picking up a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but finding people who can write about that well.
Yes. And in Singapore, I can find in various other
Yeah.
countries I've got. We have a team of 30, but still it's a challenge. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. I'm going to move on to Naveen's question. there was a publication group in ANZ that experimented with offering subscriptions to PR agencies that was needed to submit op-eds and releases. Would that be something we might eventually see more publishers opt for? What does this mean?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So publications are actually saying like PR agencies can pay for play, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think I came across something like that, but I haven't really seen it pick up.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit in the nose. Yeah. I haven't seen it here. And I don't know, what will be interesting to see how successful that model was. You know, if it's still continuing to today, then we'll know that maybe that is something that's workable.
Yeah. Actually, Naveen,
I'm quite
yeah.
interested, Jinli, I'm actually interested to know, yeah, would PR agencies and corporates be keen to subscribe to such a service? Say if a news publication offered such a service, and I believe there are some that do. They take I've come across when I've done searches and things like that, and some of the releases actually pop up on certain news.
You really can, right? I mean, I'm doing it now myself. There are a lot of publications that will take it. Yeah, I mean, you pay for something to be placed, right?
To be
like
added to the in a section of that website. That's right.
Yeah. So Naveen, I think it is really being done. Yeah. But if you ask Aaron, of course, he will tell you it's a big no-no lah, right? But a lot of people, I think a lot of smaller media, right? They're doing it, right? I mean, the challenge is not new, right? I mean, the challenge always is how do you maintain your editorial integrity and neutrality while being able to make money from advertorials or whatever you call it, lah, right? Whether it's PR news wire. And to me, the question is how far is the publisher willing to go? Because if you are just going to accept all money, then why are you existing as a media, right? Like Aaron say, nobody will read you, right?
What do you stand for?
Yeah,
you know,
if your job
what
is
is that USP? Yeah,
correct. So you just make your stakeholders happy from a PR point of view. Yeah, sure, they're happy, but after a while, they will realize that the media that you're supporting has no value because no one believes it, right? Yeah, but there must be balance against the need to manage.
But Jinli, since we're a press club as well, I think we also need to look at it from the perspective of the media companies, because media companies are now, as you all know, advertising has dried up, and a lot of people are going on to advertise on much cheaper options. So media companies also are no longer the gatekeepers of news. Everybody can self-publish. It's very easy. It's cheap as well. So again, supporting media companies, supporting media is critical for the survival of the media, because what if the media companies all shut down, that you have no more media to pitch to?
Exactly.
So it's equally as important, and to educate clients as well, since this is mainly an audience of folks in comms and PR, is to support media companies in whatever way possible. I would highly encourage you, to partner with media, not just, of course, earn media, but partner with them in events, in campaigns, in whatever CSR you can think of. Put some of your CSR dollars with media companies as well. There are initiatives like World News Day, which are worth supporting, because then you get really the attention of media all over the world. This year, 500 newsrooms from around the world took part in World News Day, which is 28th of September. So you have some time to think about next year, 9 months down the road. But I would say, please, consider that. And in my day job, I work for OneIFRA, the World Association of News Publishers. So we are organizing World News Day in partnership with the Canadian Journalism Foundation, for example. We talk about media sustainability all the time, news models and things like that. So again, if there are ways for your clients to support the news media in other ways, then this helps. You got to help the media survive as well, in order to see good coverage and good journalism, especially in the media. And news media companies also are struggling to find reader revenue models as well. So if you can support news media companies by just subscribing to their product, so many people, young people these days, do not even read news anymore. Say, yeah, I want to be. I've had students as well say, I want to be a journalist, but you said, do you watch TV news? Do you read newspapers? No, I don't. So, and do you subscribe? Of course, less so. So, people really need to support the media by just that simple act of subscribing. It's $30 a month or whatever it is, $20 something a month. Just support. Thanks. Sorry, soapbox.
I think to that point, the budget allocations have to change as well, because I know most of you are in PR, right? And usually PRs don't have a lot of budgets in your organizations. It's usually the marketing teams that have the money. So yeah, I mean, that's the common thing that I hear from my
Yeah,
colleagues
that's exactly
as
why,
well.
from us, it's the IMC route, so that we can unlock those marketing dollars, and hopefully some of that would go to these paid arrangements with the media houses. I mean, for us also, as PR agencies, we will not be able to survive if there are no more media left to pitch to. So it's either we evolve totally to become this hybrid kind of omni-channel company, then that means we are fighting with the advertising agencies, the marketing agencies. When is it ever going to end? So if there's some way where the media publishers, and agencies or PR people can work together to keep this going, well, I'm all for it.
Okay. Anyone else? Other questions? Please just
Jin Lee, Ian here.
Yes, Ian.
Hi, hey, everybody. My name is Ian. I used to be a journalist, editor, right? I used to work as a marketeer, and now I'm working at Lenovo, right? So I oversee sales and marketing for my business category. So I just want to share an observation, right? As a guy who gives interviews to the media, I write my own columns, right? I share with the media, and the media don't even have time to edit my stuff. Listening to the conversation here, right? Firstly, I'm not going to comment on the media because I left SPH over 14 years ago because it was not doing anything about gaining new eyeballs, right? The young people don't read media today because the media didn't do anything about it for many years, right? They all half-hearted efforts, right? And from the corporate point of view, right? So let's say I represent the corporate industry, and we are looking for coverage as well. Frankly, we know that young people don't read the media, but what are PR companies doing about the new platforms like social media? And I can tell you 13 years ago, right, when I was doing Xbox marketing, I sat down with the PR agency. It was the Edelman team at that point. And I asked them, hey guys, in the future, if the newspapers die off, right, what are you guys going to do, right? How can we go direct to the consumers and talk to them directly? Till today, I'm surprised, nothing much has changed. There's still a demarcation between social media and media, right? And frankly, to us in the corporate world, we don't see the demarcation at all. Where there are customers, we want to talk to them. If we need to talk to them directly, we'll have to do it. But we also face a lot of executives who don't dare to speak to customers directly, right? That's one hurdle to cross. We have a lot of PR agencies who, like what you guys said earlier, have a demarcation between marketing dollars and PR dollars. Frankly, it's all the same dollars to us, right? It's just marketing dollars. It's where we want to allocate it, and so on. So I think there's a lot of sort of conventional structures being discussed here. But from our point of view, for us, I'm working in the IT industry, right? And we get a lot more mileage from one single influencer, right, who is credible. He may or may not take the money because he already earns money from YouTube advertising to reach the audience that we want to reach. And therein lies the one of the food for thought, right? How do you simply adjust to the new audience rather than trying to support the old publications who have been unable to find a business model? Frankly, the business model doesn't exist, right? Within smaller countries, which doesn't have the reach of New York Times. I subscribe to New York Times. I pay less than $5 a month. That's a pretty good deal. But I don't see SPH doing that for years until recently. Then they finally threw in the towel. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Ian, we're totally, I think, in sync with what you are seeing. Because for us now, over the years, literally, for us as an agency, we saw years back that we'd have to totally evolve. That's why you see our whole integrated Marcom offering. Our digital teams are actually fully integrated. So our consultants all have to be doing omni-channel kind of consulting with our clients. It's really about ultimately what is that business objective, right? What is that communications objective? What are you trying to achieve? And then we look at the right kind of platform. So we do have this new methodology called the Hoffman Blueprint. and I'm sure other agencies all have, somewhat similar, but it is definitely changing just because media relations, unfortunately, is only just one, I think one segment of the entire mix in which we have to go out with our clients. So it could be own content, it could be paid content, it could be influencer outreach, it could be micro influencer outreach, it could be KOLs also, and when I mean KOLs, more the industry, like it could be academics, maybe in say Korea, or it could even be the National Assembly, in Korea, for example. It's quite different now. So for us, it's not just good old, media relations anymore. In fact, while it's still important, but it also depends on the job description, I think, of our clients. If they are in a bit more traditional mindset, and media is only the only way that in which they are, measured by, then they're just going to push us for that media coverage. But now we come in with a full IMC offering each time we propose something.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, there is a special session talking about influencers. Okay, I will invite you to be one.
Anyway, sorry, I need to jump off. I have a call regarding social media platform management, right?
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Anyone else has any more questions? I think we are going to reach the end soon. Maybe one last question. Okay, if not, I mean, thanks Maureen, thanks Aaron, and thanks everyone joining us. We can't have a talk show if nobody is here. Just as you can't have TechTarget if no one is reading it. So every platform needs an audience. So thank you very much. I mean, I see many familiar names here. Thanks for joining us. Please look out for the next one. But before we go, I think Junie, you want to talk a bit about Christmas, right?
Yes, that's right. So thank you everybody for being a wonderful audience and for all your inputs. I think I think this is great. It's an intimate conversation that we can all share views and exchange ideas. And I think some of the points raised about the marketing dollars versus the media relations dollars and so on, the PR dollars, are totally valid. And this is where you play a role in educating your clients as well to try and go the integrated approach. And as you know, the financial situation with media companies as well as dire. So, right, what if we have no more media to pitch to? Again, the traditional relationship between journalists and PR folks and editors and so on is changing. And we also, I see it as well. I've taught at university as well. People don't stay very long. I tell my students, I'm training you for jobs that haven't been invented yet. So that's something that, again, I think as employers, a lot of you have to sort of take on that role. As we train the students only up to a certain level, and then after that, hey, you've got to take them over and you've got to prepare them as well. I hear all that feedback about can't even find crypto writers and so on. Absolutely. So this is where actually, if the young are taught how to they want to really stand out, these are the areas that they need to go into, because obviously there's a huge demand and everybody out there is willing to snap them up. So yes, we are the Singapore Press Club, and we definitely want to encourage this sort of dialogue and conversation going forward. The next one, of course, is not as serious. It is a fun thing because it's Christmas time, it's year end, and we're actually organizing a Eurasian themed Christmas dinner and a Eurasian Heritage Gallery tour. So Quentin's, as you all know, is at the Eurasian Heritage Gallery, and we're going to have not just the dinner, which is 58 I think for members and 68 for non-members. Preceding that will be a tour of the Eurasian Heritage Gallery, which the Singapore Press Club has not done before. So we're very lucky to have a few members who are very active in the Eurasian Association and the Heritage Gallery. So yeah, please join us if you can. Details are on the Singapore Press Club's website. And of course, just a last shout out, join us, pay 2, get 3 years. So yeah, head on to the Press Club website to check us out. And with that, I'd like to thank Jin Lee. Jin Lee and I started this series, Generations, to talk about the intergenerational differences in the various fields of our work in journalism and comms and so on. So I hope you find this interesting. And yes, we will have upcoming sessions. For example, should journalists be influencers, and talking about how whether shoe leather reporting is dead, how do investigative journalists work these days? These are topics of video storytelling, for example, the approaches in even video storytelling, the whole narrative. I used to teach broadcast journalism. It's very different from what we were taught, by our BBC traders in the old days. Nowadays, the journalist is the story. We're always taught you are not the story, stay out of it. And read, scroll, or swipe. Again, interacting with the news is very different these days. We used to just flip the newspapers. We used to read a paper, but now everybody's just scrolling and swiping through. So these are some of the topics to look forward to in this series. Thank you, everybody, for being a wonderful audience, and we will see you at the next one. Thank you very much to our speakers and to
Thanks,
Jenny
everyone.
as well.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much, Maureen. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you for
Thanks,
having
Jin.
us.
Bye. I'm going to switch off now.
Okay, bye.
Thanks. Goodbye. Yes, thanks, Robert. And happy holidays to everyone.